Hey guys, Chris here with Rooted. I'm so excited to share with you today about the Nashville number system. It's such a foundational concept in music. I cannot imagine going to play on Sunday mornings at a worship event or anywhere else throughout the week without understanding this concept. It's literally transformed the way that I understand music. And when I learned it when I was younger, it really just made everything make sense. And now I started viewing music through this amazing lens that all of a sudden made sense. And now things weren't such a mystery as far as moving to different keys. Transposition, it makes transposition so much easier. It just allows you to really understand music in this amazing way where then you can go and create music on your own. You can play the music you need to well. And it's just awesome. And that's why I love talking about it. Everyone I know who's playing music on some professional level understands the Nashville number system, and they would say it's foundational to you as a musician being able to take your playing to another level. So that's what we're going to talk about today, the Nashville number system. Now, in music, you may already know this, but in music, we have all these different notes, obviously, that we can play, right? If you just think about a piano, there are 88 keys on a normal size piano. And in those 88 keys, there are groups of notes that sound really good together. And those groups of notes are called keys. Okay. One particular key that we'll kind of reference today a little bit just for the sake of ease is called the key of C. So if you look at a piano, you see white keys, you see black keys. There's one rule about the key of C, and the one rule is that you can't play any black keys. Okay, so every other note is available besides black keys. Now, you get later on down the road when you play any key, you understand that certain songs have what are called borrowed chords to make the melody sound better, or to just provide a certain sound that maybe wouldn't have been there. But first, you have to know the rules to break the rules. And so the one rule about the key of C is that you can't play any black keys. So then we would learn the C major scale. And a C major scale, any scale really in music, is just a map of the key. It's a framework of what notes are available to you in any given key. Okay, so in the key of C major, the notes that are available are C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. All right, 7 different letters, 7 different notes that are available. That would be your scale. And if you think about those notes, not so much as in letters, but as in numbers, then it helps transform the way that you're thinking about the scale, but also the chords that are going to come in that key. Okay. So the number system, the Nashville number system, refers to chords, not necessarily by their letter name, but more so by their number name. So you might hear someone say, what's the 3 chord? Or, hey, play the 4 chord right here, or 6 chord, or whatever. These number chords refer to one of the scale degrees in a particular scale. And so as we just talked about, the C major scale, you have these 7 different notes. The 1 chord in the key of C would be a C chord. The 2 chord would be a D chord. The 3 chord would be an E, the 4 an F, the 5 a G, the 6 an A, the 7 a B. Because of the notes that are available in the key of C, the chords directly correspond to the scale of that key. Now, there's another step to this, okay? So you can't just play a C chord, right? You have to know whether it's major, is it minor? A D chord, is this major, is it minor, and so forth. Well, this is where it gets really good. And this is where the knowledge that you get from today can translate to literally every other key in music, okay? So major chords and minor chords. You have these 2 different kinds of chords in music, all right? Major chords, to break it down really simply, they sound happy. Minor chords sound sad. Okay, and then there's this other kind of chord that we'll talk about in a minute called a diminished chord. That one sounds really sad. You can just think about it like that for now. So you got your major, your minor, and your diminished. Okay, in every single key of music, in every single major key of music, your major chords will always be your 1 chord, your 4 chord, and your 5 chord. Okay, so if we think about it in terms of the key of C, C would be a major chord. Remember, we talked about how the 1 chord would be a C chord, the 4 chord would be an F chord, and the 5 chord would be a G chord. Every one of those 3 chords would be a major chord, meaning they would sound happy. C major, F major, G major. The 2 chord, the 3 chord, and the 6 chord are always going to be minor chords. So in terms of the key of C, the D would be a minor chord, the E would be a minor chord, and the A would be a minor chord. And then to get to the diminished chord, the 7 of the chord, of the 7 of the key would always be diminished. So the B would be a diminished chord. So as you go through the key of C, you can kind of take that same framework and apply it to any other key. So another key, if you know music pretty well, is the key of G. There's one note in that key that's sharped. It's Fs. All Fs are sharped. Every other key is a natural normal note. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G are the notes in the key of G. So the one chord would be a G major because the first note in the G major scale is a G, and the one chord is always major. The fourth chord in the key of G would be a C major. Again, the 1, the 4, the 5 chords are always major, and the fourth note in the G major scale is a C. So you kind of start to see how this stuff corresponds. The chords directly corresponds to the scale of a key. And then once you understand the greater framework of major chords are the 1, the 4, the 5, minor chords are the 2, the 3, the 6, and the diminished is the 7, it's just like putting the pieces of the puzzle together. You now have all the information. Now it's just the application, and now you can be effective with it. And so if someone were to say, hey, play the 4 chord in the key of C, you would then play an F major, right? Now, here's why this is important. If you're ever playing in a live setting and you're playing with a singer, maybe their voice is a little bit shot that particular day, maybe they're just sick and they're kind of getting over a cold, you've probably had to deal with key changes on the fly. And for most players, that is a nightmare. And I understand it because you're taking one particular song and completely changing every single note that you would possibly play in that song. It can be a nightmare if you don't understand music in this way. But when you understand the Nashville number system, you're not thinking, I'm taking a C chord and making it whatever chord. I'm taking an E minor 7 and making it this chord. You're literally just thinking about the numbers that is the chord progression. Maybe it's a 4 chord to a 1 to a 5. And all you're doing is you're shifting out of the key of C or whatever key you're in and moving to the key of G or whatever key you're moving to, right? So back to our example with the key of C and the key of G, all right? If you're playing in the key of C and you're doing a 4-1-5 progression, you're playing an F major, a C major, and a G major. Well, let's just shift that to G, and now you're playing a C major, a G major, and a D major, and it's that simple. When you understand the scale and when you understand the chords of a given key, knowing how to transpose on the fly is instantaneous, and it can be if you really understand on that level. And that's something that I love to teach all my students and love for them to get to that point. And I've seen students get to that point. It's incredible. I've seen them not only be able to begin to chart every song that they ever learn just by ear and knowing exactly what chords being played, but also I've seen them be able to transpose on the fly and make quick changes when they've needed to. That alone can separate you from thousands of other musicians in terms of how well you're received at any event that you play at. Being flexible as a musician is just kind of a part of life. It's a part of playing music. And the more that you can be flexible, the more that you can really open up your world to helping other people in the midst of a set and just, hey, this guy was just such an easy fit. He didn't worry when we had to move the key. He came prepared. She was ready to go whenever we had to move from B flat to F. Things like that are the little things maybe in your mind right now, but they are what sets you apart from a world of other musicians who just don't get that. And so understanding the Nashville number system is foundational, in my opinion, to playing any modern music that you would want to. So I hope today that you're able to understand that to a greater extent. Maybe you still have some questions about it. Feel free to comment below the video or to shoot me an email real quick at chris@rootedmusiconline.com. I'd be happy to talk with you more about it or just answer some questions you might have about it. I know if you've never talked about this or if you've only kind of read sheet music thus far, this might be a whole nother concept and a whole nother way of thinking that's kind of blowing your mind right now. But the more that you get into it and the more that you practice your scales and your chords in a given key, you will be such an asset when you understand this system. And it makes playing worship music, any modern music for that matter, just so much easier. So I hope you enjoyed today. Look forward to connecting with you.